Ayo, back at it again with another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So, um, I'm gonna try and start doing monthly articles on abortion access across the country. After Roe v. Wade was overturned, it was left up to the states, and it was pretty much a free for all, mostly after that Supreme Court decision, because different states were doing different things. Some were moving to ban it altogether, some states were trying to expand access to abortion, and some states were very just not really sure what to do because they had split control. Democrats and Republicans had different controls over state houses or governorships. So we're going to get into my map. This is my opinion and map for January of 2024 for abortion safe states. So wrote this January 1st, a couple days into the new year as time of recording. So this is my map as of January 2024. So green states are states that I think are pretty safe. Light green states are states that I think are somewhat safe. I'll get into each state individually, but states on the West Coast, such as Hawaii, California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, and also Alaska, which was really surprising to me. So this is a map from Center for Reproductive Rights. If you want to check out that map, this is my map is kind of inspired off of this. So states on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California in the blue column for expanded access, Hawaii is blue, yellow for Alaska. Abortion will remain legal in Alaska. The state court recognized the fundamental right to reproductive choice under the Alaska Constitution. So as of right now, obviously the voters can, amend the Constitution during different ballot initiatives. I don't know if that's the case in Alaska, but as of right now, I would consider Alaska green and pretty safe for access. Obviously, that far away from the mainland, so that would mostly only apply to Alaska residents. Other states, Colorado and New Mexico, I think are pretty safe states. Arizona, at the moment, I would say no. So right now, the Arizona's pre-Roe ban is temporarily enjoined. In September, Arizona's 15-week ban went into effect. So honestly, I wouldn't go to Arizona for this kind of care. If I was Arizona resident, whether you are up in Flagstaff, probably the closest would be Vegas. If you're in Phoenix, probably the closest is either going west to California or east to New Mexico. If Tucson, probably New Mexico, probably the closest. Or if you're up in the northeast corner, maybe into Colorado. But Arizona, no. Utah, no. Idaho, no. Wyoming, no. Montana is one of these states that I find interesting. Abortion will remain legal in Montana as long as the state constitution is not amended. So states like Montana and Alaska have it in their state constitution. State's highest court recognized autonomy under the Montana Constitution, protecting the right to abortion access. And the reason why I put it as light green is because there was a referendum that just was, I think, 2022. So personally, I wouldn't get that kind of care in Montana. If I were Montana or Idaho or Wyoming, would go to states such as Washington, Oregon, or Colorado. If I was in Wyoming and needed care, I'd go to Colorado. If I was in Idaho, I'd probably go to Oregon or Washington, depending on where you are in the state. Montana, I personally wouldn't. I'd go to Washington, to go to Tacoma out eastern Washington. If you're in Utah, would probably be closest is Vegas or here in Colorado. Arizona would be closest to New Mexico or California, or even Vegas and Colorado, depending on where you are. Yeah. Let's actually move into plains and the Midwest. So states like Minnesota and Illinois are what I'm going to refer to as islands because they are surrounded by states that are opposite of, in Minnesota, surrounded by states that have put bans into place. Same thing with Illinois, surrounded by states that have put bans or heavy restrictions on abortion access. So, referring to states like Colorado, New Mexico, Minnesota, and Illinois as islands. So, another one that I want to talk about is Kansas, which is another one that is surprising. So, Kansas is like Montana and Alaska, where it's something about the state constitution that says, you have the right to your autonomy, or I'm not entirely sure the specific language, but I personally would not get that kind of care in Kansas. I'd go to Colorado. Same thing with Montana. I wouldn't get it there. I'd go elsewhere. Same thing with Alaska, but Alaska is kind of way too far, off the mainland. It's if you're an Alaska resident, your access to abortion is protected if the state court still recognizes that constitutional right to that in their state constitution. So, Minnesota, if you're in the Dakotas, probably go to Minnesota, probably to the Twin Cities. If you're in Nebraska, probably go to Colorado or Minnesota, depending on, whatever is closer. Iowa, definitely go to either Minnesota or Illinois, depending on where you are in the state. Missouri, definitely go to like East St. Louis or Carbondale or Champaign-Urbana. If you are Arkansas, probably the closest is Southern Illinois or Oklahoma. If you need care in Oklahoma, probably the closest would be New Mexico or Colorado. In Texas, if you're in El Paso, the closest is obviously New Mexico, but all of Texas, I would not get an abortion in Texas. That's just me. You go to New Mexico and go to Colorado. Don't do it in Texas. It's crazy over there. But back up to the Midwest, states like Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, probably go to Illinois. I'm from Indiana, and obviously I can't get pregnant, but if I were to need it somehow, Illinois is right there. Moving into the Midwest, Wisconsin, personally, is a no for me. Right now, the Wisconsin's governorship is Governor Evers. He is for abortion access, but majorities in Wisconsin in the state house and state senate, I would absolutely not do it in Wisconsin, but that's just me. Go to Illinois or Minnesota. So here's the map. Wisconsin is pretty red. Just go to Minnesota or Illinois. Michigan and Ohio are another two that I want to talk about. Arizona, they're looking at different pieces of legislation. Also, split control. Don't do it in Arizona. Same thing, my recommendation, don't do it in Kansas or Montana. Same thing with Wisconsin, don't do it there. Just go to Minnesota or Illinois. Two states I want to talk about, Michigan and Ohio. So Michiganders approved Proposition number 3, 2022 midterms. Governor Whitmer signed a repeal on the 1931 abortion ban. But the reason why I marked it light green is because there's narrow margins in the House and Senate, and depending on the election, it can swing one way or the other. So Michiganders have approved Prop 3, which enshrines reproductive freedom in the Michigan Constitution. However, that's enshrining that in the state constitution, but I'd still, weigh my options, do it in state or travel to Illinois or, even New York. I don't know, depending on where you are. A couple things I want to talk about is shield laws. In the Northeast, pretty good, up here, the islands of Minnesota, Illinois, New Mexico, and Colorado. Basically, states along the coast, the West Coast, states along the East Coast, and a couple islands here throughout the country. Basically, shield laws would protect you from, if you were to go to those states for the care, then the state that you come from can't prosecute that. Basically, they're trying to shield other states from meddling if you decide to go to these states. Pennsylvania and Virginia I want to talk about. I didn't even talk about Ohio. Ohio approved issue 1, but I still wouldn't go to Ohio for that kind of care. There is a 6-week ban that is currently blocked by the courts, but I don't know what's going on with that, so I wouldn't go to Ohio. Pennsylvania is kind of like Ohio. There's a lot of restrictions in place there. I wouldn't go to Pennsylvania for this. Virginia is another one. I marked it light green because there's split control. Places like D.C., Maryland, Delaware, Jersey, New York are safe. All of New England is safe in my opinion, except for New Hampshire, which I would put as New Hampshire was light green. Virginia was also light green. Michigan I put light green. So these are the states that I think are pretty safe. Wouldn't go to Arizona. Wouldn't go to Wisconsin. Michigan's fine. Wouldn't do it in Ohio or Pennsylvania. Definitely wouldn't do it in the South. Like, none of these states down here. Don't. Just go to Southern Illinois or Virginia or take a road trip to D.C. I don't know. Last thing. Personally, I can't get a period, but I wouldn't trust any of these period tracker apps. So if that is something that you do, obviously it's your decision. You decide whatever you want. But personally, my recommendation, delete period tracker apps because ultimately they can find ways to give out data. And that's, very intimate stuff that you don't want out. So personally, get rid of those apps, in my opinion. But yeah, these are my abortion safe states January 2024. I'll try to upload this monthly, but that's my take on states that are good for abortion access if you so need it. So that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Deuces.